The dim light of the hospice room flickered like a dying candle, casting long shadows across the frail form of Eleanor Hargrove, her breath shallow and ragged, as if each one carried the weight of decades unspoken. In that hushed twilight between life and whatever lay beyond, she clutched the young caregiver's hand with surprising strength, her voice a fragile whisper that sliced through the silence. "Please, call him. Tell him. I am his mother." The caregiver, wide-eyed and frozen, felt the world tilt on its axis, for Eleanor had always claimed to be childless, her life a solitary tapestry of quiet regrets until now. Sarah, the caregiver, a compassionate woman in her 30s with a heart scarred by her own losses, leaned closer, her pulse racing. "Mrs. Hargrove, who do I call?" Eleanor's eyes, clouded with age but sharp with urgency, met hers. Jonathan Ellis. The number's in my locathidon there all these years." Sarah's fingers trembled as she opened the antique gold locket around Eleanor's neck, revealing not just a faded photo of a baby boy, but a crumpled slip of paper with a phone number scrawled in faded ink. The revelation hit Sarah like a wave. This wasn't just a deathbed confession. It was the unraveling of a life built on secrets, a bridge to a past Eleanor had buried deep to protect her, perhaps to punish herself. As Sarah dialed the number on her phone, the room seemed to hold its breath. Eleanor lay back, her mind drifting to 1952, a time when the world was harsher, judgment swifter. She had been 19, unmarried, and terrified, her belly swelling with a child whose father had vanished into the Korean War's fog, never to return. Society's whispers had been knives, unfit, shameful. So, in a cold orphanage in Chicago, she had signed away her son, tears blurring the ink, convincing herself it was for his good a better life with a family who could provide what she couldn't. But the ache never faded. It grew into a hollow in her soul, filled only with imagined glimpses of the boy she named Jonathan in her heart. The phone rang once, twice, and then a man's voice answered, deep and steady. "This is Jonathan Ellis." Sarah swallowed hard, glancing at Eleanor, whose lips moved silently in prayer. "Mr. Ellis, my name is Sarah. I'm calling on behalf of Eleanor Hargrove. She's in hospice, and she asked me to tell you that she is your mother." Silence stretched like an eternity on the line, broken only by a sharp intake of breath. "What? That's impossible. My mother died years ago adoptive, but still." His voice cracked, revealing fissures beneath the composure. Sarah pressed on, her own emotions surging, empathy for this stranger, protectiveness for the woman fading before her. "She has proof, sir. A photo, details from your birth. She wants to see you, before it's too late." Jonathan hung up without another word, leaving Sarah staring at the phone, her heart pounding. Eleanor reached out weakly. "Did he believe?" Sarah nodded, though doubt gnawed at her. She had seen enough in her years at the hospice to know that truths like this could heal or shatter. As night deepened, Eleanor shared fragments of her story. The factory job she took to survive, the letters she wrote but never sent, the nights she wandered Chicago's streets hoping for a glimpse of a boy who looked like her lost love. Each word painted a portrait of resilience laced with sorrow, a woman who had turned her pain into quiet acts of kindness, volunteering at shelters, helping single mothers in secret, all while carrying the ghost of her son. By morning, Sarah had barely slept, her mind replaying the call. She checked on Eleanor, who seemed frilier, her skin like parchment. "Why now?" Sarah asked softly, adjusting the blankets. Eleanor's smile was bittersweet. "Because death strips away the lies we tell ourselves. I thought forgetting would free me, but it chained me instead." Their conversation flowed into deeper waters, Sarah sharing her own story of losing a child to miscarriage, the guilt that lingered like a shadow. In Eleanor, she saw a mirror, two women bound by unspoken grief, finding solace in vulnerability. It was then that a knock echoed at the door. A man stood there, tall and silver-haired, his face etched with confusion and something rawer hope. "I'm Jonathan Ellis," he said, his voice trembling. Sarah stepped aside, her breath catching as Eleanor turned her head, eyes widening in recognition. "My boy," she whispered, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. Jonathan approached hesitantly, like a man stepping into a dream he feared would dissolve. He sat by her bed, taking her hand, the same one that had once cradled him as an infant. Why? Was all he could muster, his successful life as a lawyer suddenly feeling hollow. Eleanor squeezed his fingers. Fear, shame, but love, always love. Their reunion unfolded in hushed tones, layers peeling back. Jonathan spoke of his adoptive parents, kind but distant, in the void he'd always felt a sense of not belonging. Eleanor recounted the day she let him go, her voice breaking on the memory of his tiny cries. Sarah watched, tears in her eyes, witnessing the raw power of forgiveness blooming in a room scented with impending loss. As hours passed, Jonathan pulled out his phone, showing photos of his family, his wife, his 2 daughters. They'd want to meet you, he said softly. Eleanor's face lit with a joy that defied her weakening body. Granddaughters. I have granddaughters. But as the sun climbed higher, Eleanor's energy waned, her breaths growing labored. Jonathan stayed, holding vigil, his initial shock giving way to a profound connection. Sarah excused herself to give them privacy, but not before Eleanor whispered to her, "Thank you, child. You've given me a miracle." Outside, Sarah leaned against the wall, overwhelmed by the humanity of it all, the way one whispered truth could bridge chasms built over lifetimes. She thought of her own unresolved pains, wondering if she too could find such courage. Back in the room, Jonathan asked questions that had haunted him, about his father, the circumstances. Eleanor answered honestly, no more veils. Your father was a good man, lost to war. I was young, alone. I thought I was saving you. He nodded, tears falling freely now. You did, in a way, but I wish I'd known sooner. The air thickened with unspoken what-ifs, yet beneath it lay a tentative peace. As evening approached, Jonathan promised to return with his family, but Eleanor's eyes grew distant, as if sensing the sands running low. Sarah re-entered, checking vitals, her professional mask slipping under the weight of emotion. She's stable for now, she said, though they all knew time was a thief. Jonathan thanked her profusely, his gratitude a balm. In that moment, the 3 of them formed an unlikely triad bound by revelation, united in fragility. Eleanor drifted to sleep, a small smile on her lips, dreaming perhaps of the family she'd reclaimed. The next day brought unexpected visitors: Jonathan's wife, Laura, a warm woman with kind eyes, and their daughters, Emily and Grace, teenagers bubbling with curiosity. The room filled with tentative laughter as introductions were made. Grandma Eleanor, Emily said shyly, holding out a bouquet of daisies, Eleanor's favorite, as Jonathan had learned. The elderly woman's eyes sparkled, her hand trembling as she touched the petals. Beautiful, like you. The girls shared stories of school, hobbies, drawing Eleanor into their world, her responses weak but fervent. Laura pulled Sarah aside. This means everything to him. He's searched for his roots before, but never found anything. Sarah nodded, feeling the ripple of one act's impact. As the family bonded, Eleanor's tales wove through the air of her youth in a small town, dreams deferred, small triumphs in a life of quiet endurance. The twist came subtly. Grace, the younger daughter, revealed she was adopted too, a fact Jonathan hadn't shared. I always felt different, Grace confessed, but now, knowing your story, Grandma, it makes me feel less alone. Eleanor's eyes widened, a fresh wave of emotion crashing over her. This unexpected parallel deepened the connection, turning personal redemption into a legacy of understanding for the next generation. Hours melted into a tapestry of shared memories, tears mingling with smiles. Jonathan read from an old letter Eleanor had kept, one she'd written to her imagined son on his birthdays. The words hung heavy. My dearest Jonathan, though miles separate us, my heart beats with yours. The room fell silent, the weight of lost time palpable, yet the presence of love undeniable. Sarah observed, her own heart swelling with the human capacity for healing, even at life's edge. As dusk fell, Eleanor's strength ebbed further. She gathered them close. Don't mourn the years gone. Celebrate this moment. Jonathan kissed her forehead, whispering, I love you, Mom. The word Mom broke something beautiful in her, tears of joy streaming. The family lingered, reluctant to leave, promising tomorrow. But in the quiet after, Eleanor confided in Sarah, I've waited a lifetime for this. Now, I can go in peace. Sarah sat with her through the night, holding her hand as monitors beeped softly. Reflections flooded Sarah's mind how one call had ignited a chain of forgiveness, reminding her that vulnerability isn't weakness, but the truest strength. Eleanor's breathing slowed, her face serene, as if unburdened at last. Morning light filtered through the hospice curtains, but it brought no renewal for Eleanor. Her breaths were shallower now, each one a labored whisper against the inevitable. Sarah, exhausted yet vigilant, adjusted the fore-drip, her thoughts a whirlwind of the previous day's miracles. Yet, as Jonathan returned alone, his face etched with new worry, the air thickened with unspoken tension, clutched a folder, its contents promising to upend the fragile peace they'd found. "I couldn't sleep," Jonathan admitted, sitting by Eleanor's bed as she stirred weakly. "I dug through old records last night. Adoption papers, birth certificate." His voice faltered, eyes meeting hers. "It matches, Mom. But there's more, something I need to understand." Eleanor nodded faintly, her hand reaching for his. Sarah hovered nearby, sensing the shift. This wasn't just reconciliation, but a delving into wounds that time had scarred over, not healed. Jonathan opened the folder, revealing yellowed documents, a letter from the orphanage, detailing Eleanor's surrender, but also a note about a twina baby girl, separated at birth. The revelation hit like thunder. Eleanor's eyes flew open, color draining from her face. "A twin? No, they told me only one child. But the papers confirmed it. Due to complications, the infants were split, the girl adopted by another family." Jonathan had never known. His adoptive parents had kept it secret, perhaps to spare him pain. Her name was Amelia. Jonathan read, voice cracking. But the trail ends there. She could be alive, out there. Sarah's heart raced. This twist, a sibling lost in the shadows, amplified the story's depth, turning personal redemption into a quest for a fuller truth. Eleanor's tears flowed freely now, regret surging anew. "I gave up one child. But two. Oh God, what have I done?" Jonathan comforted her, his own shock mingling with determination. "We'll find her, Mom. Together." Sarah, moved by the unfolding drama, offered to help research, her caregiver role evolving into ally. As they pored over the documents, memories resurfaced for Eleanor. The hazy birth, the doctor's murmurs, her grief, so overwhelming she hadn't questioned details. The pain was visceral, a mother's love multiplied by loss, yet it ignited a spark hope that Amelia might complete the circle. Word spread subtly through the hospice. Other residents, overhearing snippets, shared their own tales of separation and reunion, weaving a communal thread of empathy. One elderly man, Mr. Thompson, wheeled himself in, his voice gravelly. "Lost a brother in the war. Never stopped looking." His story, a twist of its own, shifted perspectives, reminding them that Eleanor's journey echoed universal human struggles: loss, search, forgiveness. Sarah noted how these interactions bolstered Eleanor, her fading vitality buoyed by shared humanity. By afternoon, Jonathan's daughters arrived, wide-eyed at the new revelation. "And Amelia?" Emily asked, excitement tempering the gravity. Grace, the adopted one, connected deeply. "It's like me, but different. We have to find her." They huddled around a laptop, searching databases, social media clues emerging like puzzle pieces. A possible match: Amelia Hargrove Evans, living in New York, a teacher with a profile photo bearing striking resemblance to Eleanor. Jonathan emailed her cautiously, heart pounding. "What if she resents us?" he worried aloud. Eleanor, from her bed, whispered, "Then we accept it. But love demands we try." As waiting ensued, conversations deepened. Laura joined, bringing comfort food, Eleanor's childhood favorites, pieced from stories shared. The family bond strengthened, laughter punctuating tears. Sarah marveled at the resilience, how one whispered request had snowballed into this, exposing layers of emotion, teaching that family isn't just blood, but choice and forgiveness. Yet, Eleanor's condition worsened. Doctors murmured about hours, not days. "Stay strong," Sarah urged, holding her hand. The email response came that evening. "Is this real? I've always wondered about my roots." Amelia's words lit the room like fireworks. A video call was arranged hastily, the screen flickering to life with a woman's face, Eleanor's eyes, Jonathan's smile. Mom. Amelia choked out, tears streaming. Eleanor, propped up, reached toward the screen. My daughter. Forgive me. The call lasted hours, stories exchanged. Amelia's happy but questioning life. Her own children, more grandchildren. The twist of her existence amplified the joy, but also the sorrow of time stolen. Emotions crested, regret for secrets kept, gratitude for this 11th-hour gift. Jonathan embraced his sister virtually, promising a visit. We'll be a family now, he said. Eleanor smiled faintly, peace settling over her. I found you both. That's enough. Sarah wiped her eyes, touched by the profound lesson life's twists, though painful, can lead to unexpected grace. Night fell, monitors beeping steadily. Eleanor confided in Sarah. I thought my story ended alone. But look, it's just beginning for them. Sarah nodded, her own grief softening in the light of this redemption. As family lingered, sharing whispers and holds, the room pulsed with love's quiet triumph over loss. But dawn brought crisis. Eleanor's breathing faltered, alarms sounding. Doctors rushed in, stabilizing her temporarily. Jonathan held her, whispering assurances. We're here, Mom. The scare heightened the urgency, bonds tightening in adversity. Amelia, on speaker, sang a lullaby from her childhood unknowingly, one Eleanor had hummed to her infants. The melody bridged decades, tears flowing freely. In quieter moments, reflections emerged. Mr. Thompson returned, offering wisdom. Life's full of surprises. Grab him. His presence, an unexpected ally, emphasized community's role in healing. Sarah, inspired, resolved to confront her own past calling and estranged sister, mending fences. As Eleanor stabilized, plans formed, Amelia flying in tomorrow. Hope flickered, fragile yet fierce. Eleanor slept peacefully, dreams perhaps of a reunited family. The night waned, leaving Sarah pondering humanity's core, our capacity to forgive, to love despite fractures. The hospice corridor buzzed with subdued energy as Amelia's flight landed. Jonathan paced, phone in hand, while Laura consoled the girls, their anticipation a palpable hum. Eleanor, though weaker, clung to consciousness, her eyes fluttering open at every sound, whispering, soon. She'll be here. Sarah administered medication, her heart swelling with the drama unfolding like a novel where twists redeemed the tragic, reminding her that even in endings, new chapters could bloom. Amelia arrived midday, breathless from the rush, her resemblance to Eleanor striking same determined jaw, gentle gaze. The room hushed as she entered, eyes locking with her mother's. Mom, she breathed, collapsing into a chair beside the bed. Eleanor reached out, fingers intertwining. My girl, you've grown so beautiful. Tears cascaded as Amelia shared her life, a loving husband, 2 sons, a career shaping young minds. I always felt a piece missing, she admitted. Now I know why. Jonathan embraced his sister fully now, the sibling bond instant, forged in shared origins. The family circle expanded, stories overlapping like threads in a quilt. Emily and Grace quizzed their new aunt about her boys' cousins, while Laura facilitated, her warmth anchoring the group. Eleanor listened raptly, her voice faint but fervent. Tell me everything. Amelia recounted adoption joys and pains, echoing Grace's experiences, creating a web of empathy. Yet, a subtle twist emerged. Amelia revealed she'd searched for her birth family years ago, hitting dead ends until a DNA test last month hinted at matches, but fear had stalled her. Your call. It was fate, she said, glancing at Sarah gratefully. Sarah, ever the observer, felt the emotional layers deepen. This wasn't mere reunion, but a testament to timing's mercy. As laughter mingled with sobs, Mr. Thompson wheeled in again, this time with a surprise guest, his own long-lost niece, found via similar means. See? Miracles happen, he grinned, his story paralleling theirs, shifting focus to broader human connections. The unexpected visitor emphasized that Eleanor's whisper had rippled outward, inspiring others to seek their truths. Afternoon waned into heartfelt exchanges. Eleanor gifted Amelia the locket's twin, another hidden in her drawer, meant for the daughter she didn't know existed. Wear it close, she murmured. Amelia clasped it on, tears glistening. Jonathan shared childhood photos, bridging gaps. The room brimmed with forgiveness's quiet power, regrets voiced and released. I should have fought harder, Eleanor sighed. You did what you could, Amelia reassured. Grace, wise beyond years, added, it's not about blame. It's about now. As evening approached, Eleanor's vitality dipped, pain etched on her face. Doctors conferred quietly. Time was slipping. The family gathered tighter, sharing prayers and memories. Sarah stepped out briefly, overwhelmed by the scene's intensity, love's fierce grip against mortality. Returning, she found them singing softly, Amelia's lullaby now a chorus. Eleanor's smile was radiant, pain transcended by joy. Night brought introspection. Jonathan confided in Sarah. This changes everything, me identity, our family. She nodded, sharing how it mirrored her healing process. Amelia, holding vigil, whispered to Eleanor, you've given me roots I never knew I needed. The elderly woman squeezed her hand. And you've given me wings to leave on. Dawn crept in, but Eleanor's breaths grew erratic. Alarms blared briefly, stabilization efforts ensued. In the chaos, bonds solidified, hands linked, words of love exchanged. I love you all, Eleanor rasped. Responses echoed. We love you, Mom/Grandma. The crisis passed, but fragility lingered, heightening appreciation for each moment. Post-scare, conversations turned philosophical. Mr. Thompson's niece shared her reunion tale, adding layers. Forgiveness heals the giver most. This auxiliary perspective amplified the narrative's humanism, showing reconnection's universal balm. Sarah, inspired, texted her sister. Let's talk. A small step, born of witnessed courage. Amelia's sons joined via video, their young faces lighting Eleanor's. Hi, Great-Grandma. The title brought fresh, tears legacy extended. Plans for future gatherings formed, though shadowed by reality. Eleanor rested, content, her life's mosaic complete. As midday sun peaked, Eleanor beckoned Sarah. You've been my angel. Sarah blushed, replying, you've taught me to embrace the hard truths. The exchange underscored the story's core. Human connections, transformative power. The afternoon unfolded in quiet companionship, games and stories filling the air. Yet, Eleanor's eyes grew distant, as if glimpsing beyond. I'm ready, she whispered to Jonathan. He nodded, tears falling. We'll carry you with us. Evening shadows lengthened, peace settling. Family lingered, cherishing the gift of togetherness. Sarah marveled at the journey from a whisper to this symphony of love. Twilight enveloped the hospice, casting a golden hue over the room where Eleanor's family huddled. Their voices a soft murmur of shared histories and futures dreamed. Her breaths, now faint echoes, drew them closer, each inhale a reminder of time's fleeting grace. Sarah adjusted the pillows, her eyes misty, knowing this chapter's close loomed, yet the story's essence redemption through truth would endure. Amelia leaned in, stroking Eleanor's hair. Tell us more about your dreams, Mom. Eleanor, voice a thread, recounted youthful aspirations, becoming a writer, chronicling lives like hers. But life took other paths. Jonathan smiled. You wrote our story now. The words hung, poignant, as Grace pulled out a notebook. We'll continue it for you. This gesture, born of youthful optimism, twisted the narrative anew, turning loss into legacy, emphasizing generational continuity. Mr. Thompson and his niece visited one last time, bearing cookies and wisdom. Endings are beginnings elsewhere, he said, his presence a final auxiliary thread, reinforcing communities weave in personal sagas. Their departure left the family introspective, reflecting on how one confession had invited such support. Night deepened, monitors steady but ominous. Eleanor gathered strength for words. Forgive yourselves, as you've forgiven me. Nods and hugs followed, emotions cresting. Laura sang softly, her voice soothing. Sarah observed, heart full the human spirit's resilience shining brightest in vulnerability. A quiet hour passed. Eleanor's eyes closed peacefully, breaths slowing to stillness. Alarms sounded gently. Doctors confirmed the passing. Tears flowed, but amidst grief bloomed gratitude for the reunion, the truths unearthed. Jonathan held her hand one last time. Thank you, Mom. In the aftermath, the family clung together, sharing memories. Amelia, she gave us each other. Emily and Grace nodded, their youth tempered by wisdom. Sarah offered condolences, her role complete yet forever changed. She found peace, she said. Days blurred into funeral preparations, the service a celebration, stories told, laughter amid tears. Eleanor's locket passed to Grace, symbolizing endurance. Jonathan and Amelia vowed to honor her through acts of kindness supporting adoption causes, fostering connections. Sarah, attending the service, felt the ripple, her reconciled family ties, inspired by Eleanor's courage. The gathering ended with a release of daisies into a river, petals floating like freed secrets. Months later, the family thrived, bonds unbreakable. Holidays brought them together, toasting Eleanor. Her whisper had ignited a fire of love, proving that even in hospice's shadow, light could prevail. The story, though ended for Eleanor, lived on, a testament to humanity's depth, where regret yields to redemption and one call changes everything.